Some men ordered whiskey with a pickled egg floating in it, which somehow counted as both hydration and protein. And of course, whiskey was social glue. You bought it to make friends, to start fights, and occasionally to apologise after both. You could measure a saloon's reputation by how fast its whiskey knocked a man off his stool. Quality? Don't ask. Some whiskey was barely more than coloured moonshine. Additives ranged from tobacco juice to cayenne pepper. It burned going down, and if it didn't, you were probably drinking kerosene. Still, no one complained, because whiskey was warm, cheap, and honest, the only thing on the menu that never lied about what it was. And on nights when your meal came in a glass, with no fork and no judgment, you raised it high, and called it dinner. In any Wild West saloon that dared serve food, there existed a shadowy, smoke-covered figure whose power rivaled that of the bartender, the sheriff, and the town preacher combined. The cook. This individual, often unshaven, always irritable, was either a life-saving genius or a culinary war criminal. There was no middle ground. You'd never see them smile, but you'd remember their cooking for days, either in gratitude or gastrointestinal trauma. Saloon cooks weren't trained chefs. They were usually ex-miners, ex-cons, or ex-somethings who knew how to build a fire and weren't afraid of questionable meat. Their kitchen. A fire pit, a dented stove, and a single cast-iron pan that hadn't been washed since the gold rush. And yet, somehow, they fed entire saloons. On a good day, they'd whip up a pot of chili that could bring a man to tears. In a good way. The biscuits would be warm, the beans cooked through, and the cornbread just sweet enough to remind you of home. But on a bad day, the beans were scorched, the meat was grey, and the stew had an unsettling layer of oil that moved when the pot was still. You didn't complain. You couldn't. Saloon etiquette was clear. Never insult the cook. Because the cook controlled everything. The salt, the grease, the mystery meat ratio. If they liked you, you got the freshest cut. If not, you got the spoon scrapings from last night's disaster, reheated into chilly surprise. They also doubled as the saloon's unofficial bouncer. No one wanted to get hit by a ladle that had just survived frying salt pork. And if the cook had a cleaver, which many did, they could clear a room faster than a shotgun. Despite their moods, these cooks were vital. They kept cowboys on their feet, miners from passing out, and travellers from collapsing mid-sentence. They worked long hours in heat and smoke.